Welcome to the Action Drug Treatment Hour here at KHTS, your hometown station in beautiful Newhall. Hey, it's hot out there today, isn't it?
No, I'm kind of cold.
Well, in here it's nice.
On.
I know. So, Lance, I just wanted to bring up, a few weeks ago, actually a few years ago, I've been screaming about this fentanyl as you know it, right?
I remember.
And I said it's going to dominate the news.
I remember.
And guess what's dominating the news right now?
Fentanyl.
These are one of those times where I wish I could say, man, I wish I was wrong. But working in treatment as long as we are in the midst of this war on drugs like we've been fighting for as long as we have, we seen it coming, didn't we?
Definitely. It's even dominating the Latino stations.
Yeah, it's everywhere right now.
Fentanyl's everywhere.
I know. I've been personally interviewed almost 14 times in the last 3 weeks. So it's like insane. We did a press conference a few weeks ago, and we had the sheriff there, we had the captain there, we had the captain of narcotics there, we had the mayor there from Santa Clarita, and we had Joe from the schools. We had Mike Garcia. We had a lot
Mike
of
Garcia
very important.
He's excellent.
I know. I actually was in Washington, D.C., and we were lobbying out there with the KHTS, and the guy's a terrific guy and really means well. But where I'm going with this is the biggest reason that I wanted to call that press conference was to get attention on the fentanyl. We didn't know that we were the hot spot for overdoses, that 24 deaths this year already, just here in Santa Clarita, confirmed deaths from overdose of fentanyl. We didn't know that till the day before we were actually putting on the press conference. And then sadly, the next day, a child died at Hollywood High,
right.
at Bernstein High School.
Right, 15-year-old.
Yeah, and everything went ballistic. But my whole goal was for this press conference was to bring awareness to what's going on, because I don't believe we're going to buy our way out of this. We're not going to arrest our way out of this, even though we need to enforce laws and be tough on dealers and that kind of stuff. That's one of the only ways that's going to deter people for selling it. But there's still going to be people out there, so what really we have to do is educate. That's the most important thing that we have to do right now. And we have to prepare ourselves for this pandemic, and I'm calling it a pandemic. I've been calling it a pandemic for how long?
At least 2 years.
At least 2 years, because if you think about it, all right, before COVID came in, every time you watch TV, it was dominated by opioids. There was more and more people getting addicted to opiates. Big farm companies were getting sued. Overdoses was off the hook. Then COVID came in, everybody stopped talking about it. But it didn't go away. It got worse and worse. And then what happened is doctors stopped writing prescriptions because we were causing opioid addicts. And now we have a supply of none and a demand of many. So that created what we have now with our fentanyl crisis. So we have to do something. So my whole purpose was to bring awareness to this thing. And so let's just take it back for a second. So you have 100,000 deaths in the last year, right? More.
Correct.
Confirmed more than 100. That was 111 confirmed, right? Something like that. Confirmed accidental overdoses. Accidental. What about suicide because of alcohol or drugs? How about domestic violence? How about child abuse? How about child molestation? How about armed robberies, car crashes, and murders? Mm-hmm. You could take that number of 100 and something and triple it 5 or 6 times. It is the biggest crisis we have ever seen right now. And it's not getting any better until we do something about it. And the message that I believe we have, well, first of all, I want to say props to Santa Clarita. Right off the bat, we had the captain here 2 weeks ago on my show. And
Captain
Diaz and Robbie Robinson, terrific guys, and I want to give props for Chasing the High. They just did a whole symposium last week, and it rocked. Terrific information. So I was reading one of the Facebook posts today where somebody said Santa Clarita is hiding this crisis. Santa Clarita is not hiding nothing. From the sheriff's station to the mayor, Santa Clarita to the schools are all over this thing. Since the press conference, They're showing that show Dead on Arrival in every class in every school here in Santa Clarita. Narcan is being sought after. In other words, the Santa Clarita schools, Hart school districts, are going to put Narcan in the schools. They're working on it right now. We're going to be doing assemblies and all kinds of stuff. By no means is Santa Clarita doing anything but jumping on this fast and hard with everything we have here in Santa Clarita. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, because there's no hiding. There's no hiding the crisis. It's just too much
You
death
can't
and
sweep it under the
devastation.
rug anymore, huh? It's not.
Not at all.
There's no more rugs.
Not at all.
So, with that being said, I was also listening to the news, and I hear that there's an 11-year-old that's got everyone's attention, because this 11-year-old brought a gummy bear to school, and the gummy bear was loaded with, guess what?
Fentanyl.
THC.
Oh.
It was one of those where mom or dad or uncle, sister, who knows where he got it, but he brought a gummy bear to school, and everybody's shocked. I'm not shocked. How many times I've heard something like that in the last year or two? Since they legalized marijuana, I've seen more crises with young kids than I've ever seen. I mean, you're my witness, true? I mean, I've seen kids end up in ERs quite often, little ones. 4 and 5-year-olds because they got into some cookie they should have eaten, or somebody's gummy bears, or some adolescent that does it. And these gummy bears are not lightweight drugs.
No.
They're 100% THC. A friend of mine went to their friend's house, and somehow her dog got into some of these cookies, ended up in the ER. The dog had convulsions, seizures, and almost died. So this is another thing that we need to pay attention, man. Everybody's got this freaking lackadaisical thinking when it comes to marijuana or
True.
THC in any matter, shape, or form.
True, it's natural. God created
God
it.
created it there, but the stuff out there isn't so natural right now.
Not at all. We
So-
talked about that this morning in group, about the dangers of the high THC content in, say, like in dab, for instance, it could be 99%. We talked about the dangers of eating edibles,
Yeah.
because you really don't know how much you're ingesting, and you can definitely have some serious symptoms from cannabis and cannabis edibles as well.
You know, I've actually put more people, and I keep sharing. It used to be people think, well, it's a rite of passage, smoke weed. It's not a rite of passage anymore, because I've put more children in psych wards in the last year for smoking or eating or vaping this THC than meth. So I'm right there. I see this stuff, man. These kids are going into psychosis. Because it's a different drug. It's not like you're smoking weed anymore. It's like a psychedelic. True, guys?
Yes.
I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
I mean, you guys know more than I do. But on that note, so I'm just trying to bring some awareness, and I'm also want to giving serious props to Santa Clarita and the school districts and the sheriff's department and everyone here for jumping on this thing as hard as we are. I hope every city's doing the same thing. I hope that we get Narcan in every class, and the reason is in every school. I mean, because we have minutes or seconds if somebody overdoses. We don't have hours. We don't have time for first responders. The schools have to be first responders now.
Yeah, and I'll take it a step further. I think they need it in every classroom. Because
Well,
sometimes you only have,
Seconds.
Seconds, minutes.
That's true.
You just don't know.
I hope that eventually we get to that point.
Yeah.
Sadly, we have to even think about doing something like that. But that's where we're at, man. That's the state of where we're at right now. So with us, Lance is he's my clinical director for Action. Been with me for how many years?
Since 2003.
We must like each other a little.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate everything he does. So I call JJ with us. We got John and Joe. And the reason why I brought you guys, man, because you're pretty fresh to sobriety. And I want to kind of hear your story. And you said, how far back do we go? Remember when you were walking down the street
Yes.
and you looked up into the sky and a bong fell into your hands and said, smoke me?
Yes.
The reason why I'm saying that is I want to know what happened, because tell me if I'm right. When we're young, what'd you want to be when you were really little?
Professional surfer.
And what'd you want to be?
Wanted to be a firefighter.
And that's what people want to do. Professional sports. They want to be firefighters, vets, cops, things like that. So we have those contracts. We also have another set of contracts. Remember those?
Yes.
When I grow up, I'll never. Remember those? You know what mine was? I'm never going to drink or use any drugs or smoke any cigarettes because I don't want to be like my dad. And all hell broke loose somewhere down the line. But it all starts by breaking one contract. You remember the first time? Do you?
Yes, I do.
Well, let's hear your story, John. Well, first off, tell us a little bit about you first and all that stuff.
Well, my name's John for the first part. My drug addiction started when I was 13 years old. I was skating with some punks, and the reason why I say that is because, man, all they wanted to do was smoke weed, didn't want to study. We'd stay out till like 10 o'clock at night smoking and skating. And it started with marijuana. A lot of people like to say that marijuana isn't a gateway drug, but they're totally wrong.
For you, it was.
Oh, yeah, definitely it was.
Yeah. Gateway drugs are any contract that we break the first time. And for most people, the first contract they break today is vaping or smoking.
Yeah.
I'll never smoke. It causes cancer. I'm not going to vape. I don't want to get sick. And boom, or smoke weed. So it's the first contract you break. Mm-hmm. And my guess is when you were little, you had contracts. You'll never do that stuff.
Right. I used to get the little bracelets from school that says, do not do drugs. I used to wear it proudly. And now here I am in a rehab.
First of all, how many days sober do you got now?
I have 25 days.
Isn't that cool? That is freaking awesome, man. So what brought you to, well, first of all, go back to your story.
Okay, so I used weed up until I was about 19 years old.
The first time you did it, do you remember your feelings right before you did it, or you don't remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember. It was scary. It's like when people try a new drug, it's like, what will it do to me? You're asking all kinds of questions, so on and so forth.
So 13, you were pretty scared, but you did it.
Yes.
And what happened when you did it?
Paranoid. It didn't feel right.
Okay.
So.
But you still did it again.
I still did it over and over.
Okay.
So my problems really started in life when I was about 19. I went to jail. I was fighting a pretty serious case, and I'd never been to jail. Well, I lied. I did a couple months in a juvenile hall. I got out. I thought I was going to do better. But
why'd you go to juvenile hall? You don't have to tell us if you don't want to.
No, it was started when I started doing Xanax, and then me and my mom would get into it. And when you're under the influence of Xanax, you unleash a whole new person. And my mom could not control that. She's a single mother, dealing with some 13-year-old punk that's doing Xanax.
Uh-huh.
So a lot happened between me and my mom. So the sheriffs were like, "We're gonna take him in." So I did a little bit of time in juvenile hall. I thought that was gonna be the end of it. When I got out of jail for my adult sentencing, I overdosed on cocaine, which happened to be laced with fentanyl.
Say that again. I want everyone to hear that again.
I overdosed on cocaine that was laced with fentanyl, and I overdosed in my best friend's mother's kitchen. And if it wasn't for her, I would not be alive.
So what happened? What did your overdose look like?
It was I was on the phone with my ex, and I put my back towards the counter, and I started slowly talking, and as soon as I hit the floor, and I just fell asleep. And so my ex called my mom, and she said, "Oh, he's just probably drunk." So when
don't ever take that for granted anymore. I know too many parents that actually said the same thing, left them, and they died.
Yes, I was almost left, and for my best friend's mom, she actually got home. Oh, he's drunk. Went to go take a shower. In the shower, something hit her heart and told her he doesn't act like that when he's drunk. So she came out, thank God, got out of the shower, slapped me around, tried to throw cold water on me, called 911, resuscitated me until the ambulance.
So she gave you CPR.
Yes. And all I remember was getting hit with the Narcan and going down a dark hallway, and I just threw up all over myself. And I was like, "Dear God, I just overdosed." And this is right when I got out of jail, so I was like, "Oh, this is not going to look good in court."
Right.
And that's where cocaine and all the other drugs that I was using started hitting hard.
So you almost died.
Yes.
If it wasn't for her leaving that shower, you'd be dead.
Yes.
If she didn't give you CPR, you'd be dead.
Yes.
You know what the weirdest thing about when you overdose and somebody Narcans you back,
What?
you miss it all.
Yeah.
You don't see the ugly.
Yeah.
You don't see the fact that you just got high. You knew that.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden you collapse.
Yep.
Gases start leaving your body. You start not being able to breathe. Your brain has no oxygen.
Right.
Sometimes you go into convulsions and seizures. Somebody has to come running out, give you CPR. You miss all that.
Exactly.
Ambulance comes, hits you with Narcan, and you wake up throwing up saying, what happened?
Right. Yep. And then they told me what had happened, and I was just devastated. I was so disappointed. I didn't think that could happen to me, and that's what everybody says when they do these drugs. Oh, it's not gonna happen to me. Next thing you know, you're waking up strapped to in the
gurney.
ambulance. Yep. So after all that, it was pretty sad. It was about a year later. I was not clean. I get a call about 8 in the morning, and I received news that my brother passed away. And
How old was he?
he was 28 years old, and
What happened?
he got into it with his ex-girlfriend, and he said, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. So he went to a Burger King in Florida, locked himself in the bathroom, did the same exact drug I overdosed on, but because nobody was there to find him in there, he had a heart attack, overdose, all that, and they found him about 5 hours later, just dead.
Sorry, buddy.
Thank you, man.
I mean, I knew that, but I'm sorry to hear that, and I know that hit you hard.
It does. It's still to this day, it'll make me lock up, and this program has actually showed me to let it out and talk about it. So that's another goal I'm working on getting over. But what's crazy is how did he not make it and I did? And God is real. God is real.
Yeah.
And that was the second time, or no, that was he has overdosed more than 8 times. So it was sad. And then
Every time, you only got 25 days, right? I got
Yeah.
40 years. So people are going to listen to you more than they're going to listen to me.
Mhm.
I've been screaming this is coming, that if you're using drugs, you're going to die.
yeah,
That every drug out there is bad. It's cut in everything right now. Cocaine has fentanyl. Makes no sense to me
right,
because cocaine's an upper,
right.
fentanyl's a downer.
Yeah.
Why in the world? Because it gets you higher and people want it, and you get addicted, and the dealers are making more money. That's why, but it's killing more people. And if they put too much of that crap in one batch, we have what you could now call mass deaths.
Yeah.
Everyone who uses that batch dies. Am I lying or not?
No,
I
you're
mean,
definitely not
you're how
lying.
old are you?
I am 22 today.
And you, happy birthday. That's
Thank
right,
you.
man. All right. I'm really proud of you, man. I got to tell you, and I texted you that yesterday.
Yes, you did.
I'm really proud of you because I know that going to rehab's not like going to Disneyland.
Oh, definitely not.
And you go through huge feelings, and you had some outbursts, and you almost got kicked out, and you had all kinds of problems, but you worked through it.
Yes.
And I couldn't be too much more proud than I am. Seriously.
Thank you, Cary.
And I hope you figure out, man, that you can't drink or use anything ever again.
Oh, never again.
Anything.
Nope.
Because when people come to rehab, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it differently. The heck with alcohol and drugs. That's not the word I used earlier.
Definitely was. Yeah.
Everybody says, whoa, what was that? It was loud. Because
Yeah.
I said it loud because it destroys everything in your path.
Oh yeah.
So back to your brother. Sorry.
No, it's okay. My biological mother could not live with it, and unfortunately, she passed away a month later. And that's where I had 2 good jobs, just got a new truck, and I was set up, but something wasn't right in my heart. So here I am driving drunk on the 18th I'm sorry, I'm not too familiar with the freeways, but I'm driving down to San Bernardino, and I'm just driving fast. I don't care if I lose my life that night. And
Well, you lost your brother and your mother.
yeah, and so I wasn't caring about the bigger picture, and so I cut off a big rig, and he slammed into me and pushed me off the freeway, and he took off, and my truck would not start, so I was stuck there, and CHP arrived, and they instantly knew I was drunk, and so that's my second DUI. I'm in jail. I'm thinking about my truck. I just lost it. I know it's just materials, and I'm just thinking I'm going down the same path as my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so that didn't stop either. A month later, after that DUI, I get another DUI because I'm so sad over this fact. and now I got to go to court.
Plus, you're how old then?
I am 22.
And you don't really even know how to deal with them feelings yet.
No, not at all.
So when you get those feelings of pain or sadness and loneliness, the obsession to use gets harder because we mistake the feelings from sadness and loneliness to I got to get loaded.
Right.
And before you know it, you're on what's it called, pilot. You're just on you're there.
Exactly. And so I'm on a joint suspension, which looking at 4 years in prison, felony probation for a burglary I did while under the influence of drugs when I was 19. And so my biggest worry right now is court, and I'm ready for them to throw the book at me because I'm surrendering. And, it's something I did not want to do. I can run, but you can only run so far.
Yeah, you can run, but you can't hide.
Exactly.
No,
exactly.
That doesn't work. But you know what? You should be pretty proud of yourself right now.
Oh,
you know
I'm super
what?
proud.
Here's what I know. I know if you decide to do right and stay right, good things happen.
Right.
And if you do time, so you do time.
Exactly.
But if you stay right with yourself in the world, good things happen. And you're still only 22 years old, man.
Yeah.
I got
baby.
sober. I'm 41 years clean. I got sober at 25. You're ahead of me. You're ahead of me. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, there's a couple more questions I want to ask you, and then we're going to get to Joe.
Sounds good.
All right, this is the Action Drug Hour here on KHTS. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Action Drug Treatment Hour here on KHTS. I'm Cary Question. I am your host with my co-host today, Lance Curtis, the Clinical Director of Action Drug Rehabs. It's always good to have you on the show with me, Lance. I appreciate that.
Always good to be here with you, young man.
What do you think?
He's a natural. He may save a lot of lives.
That's the whole goal of this show. There was other things I remember. You were in a hospital too, weren't you?
Yes, I was. On Halloween night 2 years ago, I was under the influence of Xanax, ecstasy, and coke. And how do I say this? One of my good friends, not so good anymore, left me in L.A. Intoxicated, and a policeman shows up, tells me, you want to go to jail or the hospital? I tell him the hospital, of course, so he takes me in. My mom picks me up from the hospital, takes me home. I find him in my kitchen, and I immediately just fight him. And so I have mercy, so I let him up, told him grab his stuff and get out. He refused, grabbed a kitchen knife, stabbed me right in my back, and I said, did you just stab me? And so we started fighting again, and he punctured my lung, and I passed out.
He stabbed you like 11 times, didn't he?
Stabbed me 13 times.
Yeah, you were in the hospital for how long?
I was in the hospital for a week.
So God has other plans for you, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you believe in a higher power, but you might as well better. Because either that or you're going to use up all your lives.
Yes.
So
like a cat, I got 9 lives.
you used up 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't have any more left. So if you do any more.
Oh yeah, no, it's the last time.
Well, wait a minute. 13 stabs, isn't that 13 lives?
Oh wow.
Man, that's pretty incredible.
Well, this boy is lucky as can be, man.
Yeah.
Or no, I wouldn't call that luck.
Yeah,
I would call that divine intervention.
He's here for a higher purpose. Otherwise, he wouldn't have survived that.
That's
There's
true.
No way, he would have bled out.
Oh
That's
yeah.
right. Okay, and you also overdosed another time, which we won't go back to.
Yeah.
As far as your mother, 2 more times.
Yes, 3 times. I overdosed 3 times. Last time I didn't remember because I was being stabbed, and yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
One thing that we advocate strong in our program is changing your friends. Obviously, you got to change your friends. One thing we advocate is for our clients, to change your friends, and obviously, you definitely need to pick better friends,
Oh yes,
sober friends.
sober friends.
You are who you hang out with, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially teenagers, we have what you call, and people in general, man, we have what you call herd mentality. We do what our herd does. If our herd is using, we use. If our herd is clean and going to meetings, that's what we do.
Right.
So you got to pick wisely.
Oh yes.
Joe, what's going on, Joe? What are you thinking? Last time I saw you, I went to Washington, D.C., but right before that, you were laying on the floor seizing
Yep.
at Action.
Yep, I had a
Ambulance
seizure.
had to come take you away. What happened?
So I was going through withdrawals from alcohol, and I guess it threw me into a seizure. It's happened a couple times before when I've tried to stop drinking, and it's kind of been reoccurring since. So
It's pretty scary, isn't it?
a little bit, because I honestly thought I was back at the house already, and when I opened my eyes, I'm in the back of an ambulance.
And your tongue, you bit your tongue, you were bleeding.
Yeah.
You were a mess, man.
Yep.
So how old are you?
I'm 25.
And you're already having seizures from drinking.
Yes.
What the heck happened to you, buddy?
At about 13, I started drinking pretty heavily.
You were walking down the street and a
Bottle.
bottle of beer fell in your hands and said, drink me.
Not quite.
Okay, what happened?
Friends, I always hung out with older friends, so they always had access to alcohol. And slowly but surely, I would have a beer, I would drink like normal people, what I thought was normal. And then I started to enjoy it a little bit more as I got older. And alcohol really became a problem for me.
Who were you living with?
I was living with my dad.
Okay, where's mom?
Mom is, they're divorced, so they're separated.
You don't want to go there, do you?
Yeah, not really.
I can see that. Okay.
So alcohol really became a problem when I was about 15. I was drinking on a daily basis, and one night, me and my brother are getting drunk, and we're having, hanging out with some friends. We're trying to look for something to do, and it's my birthday, I believe. And
No, it's his birthday.
no, at the time it was my birthday, and so we're out looking for some fun, and we find a party, and that's where the trouble began, because we weren't really welcome there. And so, long story short, my brother ended up getting into a fight with one of the parents there, and the parent was belligerent, and he started pushing my brother's face into the concrete, and that's where alcohol kicked in for me. I got liquid courage, and I ended up jumping up, and I ended up stabbing the guy, and then I did some jail time, which was probably my most sober time. Yeah, juvenile.
Yeah, they tend to put people in jail for that.
Yeah.
They're not real,
Fond of that.
fond
No,
of
they're not. Especially when you run.
Yep.
So I did 9 months for that, and obviously I did it clean, and I got out. I went right back to drinking. Wasn't even out a day, and I was already drinking.
You went right back to the people.
Yeah, I went right back to the same people, and
I hope that teaches you something.
yep. And so when I got out, at that time I was drinking. We were hanging out, having a big party because I got out, and then a brother of mine introduced me to a drug that he said was ecstasy, and it was not ecstasy, it was meth. And so when I did it, it sobered me up, and I said, whoa.
You know how many times it takes to get, for anybody out there that's listening, people don't turn into drug addicts by accident. They turn into it by experimenting, and if they have an addictive personality and they find that one drug that hits them, they're dead, they're in trouble, they're screwed. And the problem with meth and drugs like that is it's a shortcut to the pleasure zone of your brain. You can use it one time and get emotionally addicted.
Yeah, I was born addicted to methamphetamines too, so it kind of was a bad start. But so as soon as I found out that I could use what I didn't know it was meth at the time, but once I found that out, that I could use that and it'll help sober me up, and then I could keep drinking more, it was all downhill from there. I ended up going to jail again for another assault with a deadly weapon, and did another 9 months. Got out, and the alcohol was always
like
there.
Somebody that wants to do a lot of time, dude.
No.
I'm not knocking you. You just don't look like it.
No, I don't want to
you
do a lot of time.
You don't fit the part.
Yeah, I got 3 babies. I don't want to do any more time.
You have
That's
what?
for sure. 3 babies.
How old are you?
25. I got 2 beautiful boys and a baby girl.
I'm going to tell you what I tell everyone else. Be to those kids what you want those kids to grow up and be.
Absolutely.
Don't be to those kids, do what I say, not what I do. Because
Yep.
they're going to do what you do.
Yep, they do.
Be
I see it.
And like you said, you were born addicted. You don't want that. You don't want any part of that for your kids. You want your kids to remember you as someone that they can respect, someone that's got courage, someone that's got dignity.
Absolutely. And then so yeah, I got out this the second time, and alcohol was, I went right back to the same people, so alcohol was always there. And I mean, if I fast forward a little bit to 21, I'm able to buy it now. So
Yeah.
I'm drinking up to a fifth to 2/5 a day, and if I'm not, I'm getting shaky. And so I'm first stop in the morning is at a liquor store, even if I'm working.
Well, you had to, or you're going to go through seizures. We already saw that.
Yeah. So
So just so everybody knows, we had to physically, medically detox Joe, or Joe would have went into serious convulsions and probably could die. I want everyone to know that when it comes off of alcohol, it's one of the most deadly drugs to detox. If
Yeah.
you don't medically detox, 30% of people coming off alcohol will die. Different than most of all other drugs.
yep.
So go on.
And so where was I?
I don't know. You went back to the same people.
Okay, yeah. So I went back to the same people, and I kind of just I hung around those same people for up until I was 21, and that's when I was able to start buying my own alcohol, and that's when it started getting really bad because I was at the liquor store
What do you mean
every day.
start getting really? It's been bad.
Yeah, well,
Your
it got
story
worse.
already got bad.
It got a lot worse, I should
And
say.
you know what I promise you? I promise you even more worse.
Yep.
It's like I told you today in group, both of you.
Yep.
I promise you one thing. If you stay clean and sober, I promise you a better life. If you decide you can go out there and play with weed or just drink beer or whatever it is you think in your brain, I promise you more of the same hell you've been through.
That thought has actually crossed my mind. I'm like, oh, I
sure.
get back out of here and
I'm
I could
sure.
smoke weed, you know? And
Now, I didn't have a problem with weed. Why can't I smoke weed? Because
Yep.
it's called breaking your contracts again.
Yep.
And it'll bring you back to what you like eventually, or you'll have a problem with something else eventually.
Which
If
I'm
you
glad it
don't-
came up in group today
if you-
because it's crossed my mind.
You know what? That's an internal battle that every single person that comes into rehab has. Why do I have to quit everything? I don't have a problem with weed. I don't have a problem with beer. Drug's a drug, man, and if you can't figure that out, you're gonna be. I mean, more and more jail cells, and your kids are gonna be shaking their heads. And where's your dad? Well, he's in jail. Where's your dad? Oh, he's in rehab. Where's your dad? Oh, he died.
Or end up dead.
Exactly. So, what do you think, both of you? What do you think is going to happen if you leave Action and decide to go back to this crap again? What do you really think is going to happen? You think you could pull it off?
Definitely not.
Why
Definitely not.
Why do you say no? I mean, seriously, do you think you could pull it off?
I definitely cannot pull it off because this is my last chance. It's one and done, and so I've already tested those waters, and God's already upset with it. You know, God only gives you a certain amount of chances before He's done with you. And I hate to say it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like anyone else, man. You want to trust people, and you want to believe in them. But when you get let down over and over again, you know, people have a hard time trusting and believing. You got to earn it now.
Yes.
So your mom passed away.
Yeah.
Who's the person that's taking care of you now?
Right now I support myself. I rent a room for my best friend's mom.
But there's someone else.
No. There is. That is my adopted mother.
Tell me about her, because she sure loves the heck out of you, man.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I got text messages almost every day.
Yeah, and yeah. So my adopted mother adopted me at 1 month old. Been in my life ever since. Anything you can imagine, we've been through it.
She's your mom.
She's definitely my mom, and she's earned that name ridiculously.
So she's probably going to see the show, isn't she?
I hope she does. Shout out to you, Ma. I love you.
What do you want to say to her? Seriously.
I want to say thank you for getting me into a rehab so I can get clean, and I'm just happy that I have her in my life, most importantly, and then meeting you guys, and so and she fought day and night to get me into rehab. It's ridiculous. She would stay up all night long after working a 12-hour shift, and still try and get me in. She's knocking at my door at 6 a.m. You ready for rehab? And I'm like, oh crap, here I go, but I'm blessed, and I thank God for it every day, and I thank her.
She's a great lady.
She's the best lady.
She sure loves you.
Oh yes, and I'm very grateful.
You know, when somebody has a baby,
Hmm.
they made a baby. When somebody adopts a baby, they picked it.
Oh yeah,
She picked you.
yes,
She chose you out of all the babies in the world.
yes.
That's pretty special.
It's crazy.
And I know how much she loves you. And you know what she told me? She said, I finally have hope. I see a different person now.
Yeah, that means the world to me because, without her, I'm nothing.
I don't know about that. But I'll tell you what. She needs you in her life, too. She loves you.
Yeah.
So you're surely making her life better.
Yes.
How about you? You said you live with your dad.
No, right now I'm
Or you, yeah.
yeah, right now I'm living with my uncle,
Okay.
which is it's kind of difficult because he drinks too, so makes it a little hard, you know.
So that we have to come up with a different plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's your children?
My children are with the mother, the mother.
And how's that picture?
Um,
I haven't had time to really talk to you except for today. I was in town. You had a seizure. I left town. I came back, and here we are.
I know she's a great mom, so I trust my kids are good.
Okay.
Their living situation and where they're at, I don't so much agree with, but
Yeah.
I know that she does everything with
Yeah.
the best interest of them. So
So do you see him or not right now?
no, not right now, but she did actually just agree to start letting me FaceTime them every night at 7.
Wow.
So
How is that?
say again.
How is that?
How is that? Tonight will be the first night I get to talk to him, and it'll be the first night I've talked to him in probably about 2 months.
So you could decide now to be a dad and a role model, which is what they need, or be some chump that they talk about years from now. Well, ask me about my dad. Ask me. I can't hear you.
How's your dad?
He died at 47 years old. Cancer took him out. Actually, drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes took him out. I used to not know if he was going to be alive or not. He'd call us up from wherever he was, and I'd say he'd be dead in the morning. Finally, he did die. Last thing he said to me, "So help me God," was, "I'm sorry, and I wish I could have got clean and sober with you," and went to those goofy meetings, and he died about an hour later. So that's how your kids can remember you. Or you can be what you want them to grow up and be. A loving, respectful man, a father, and a productive member of society. But you have to give up the alcohol and drugs, man. All of
That's
it.
my plan.
You have to, if that's what you want.
Absolutely.
Or you can be some chump, man. There's plenty of them hanging on the streets or sitting in jail cells. That's for sure. But you're both, and you're worth so much more than that. And you got a shot right now. Run with it hard. Hard. What do you want to say to people that are listening to this show? What about teenagers that are listening, saying they're smoking a little bit of weed and everything is, going okay. They don't see any problems with it. What do you want to say?
That a lot of people don't believe that weed is a gateway drug, but eventually you will get bored of that and you will start exploring other drugs, and that will lead to other drugs, and it's just a snowball effect from there. If you don't think it can happen to you, it can. It's just a matter of when.
Well, look at this. When you were little, we say we're never going to do any of that.
Yep.
Then we smoke a cigarette or we vape, and we say it's only a cigarette or a vape. I'll never smoke weed. And then we say, well, it's only pot. It's natural. God put it there. I'll just use this. I'll never use anything else. Then we go to a party. We smoke a little bit too much weed. We have a little bit of booze, and somebody passes around, like you say, meth.
Yeah.
And we take a hit, and we're screwed. It's breaking those contracts. When you guys leave rehab, if you start breaking the contracts, smoking a little bit of weed, doing this, and same thing. It's
Yeah.
back to just like when you first started again. So if you're listening out there for children, it's kind of like you said, man, if you think it won't, it will. And all drug abuse starts innocently, man. And today, sadly, ends up tragically for so many. We going for a break? Is that what you're trying to say? We have a break? Okay, we're getting the finger that says break, 1 minute. And that was like 3 minutes ago. So we better take a break. We'll be right back. This is the Action Drug Hour.
Hey, welcome back to the KHTS Action Drug Rehab Hour. We have had the pleasure of having John and Joe.
JJ.
John and Joe tell their stories. Fascinating story. As I was listening, man, I was having a tremendous amount of empathy with both of you. It's a miracle what you've gone through, and you've so far come out on the other side. You will be such an inspiration to thousands by staying clean and sober, right? So my hope for you is both of you get what you need to get. You know, sometimes when you're in a protected environment, you start to really feel good. You're real optimistic. You go back to the neighborhood, and misery loves company. People try to drag you down. So I would encourage.
Bored, you get lonely.
Yep, and then you know what happens. So let's pick it back up with you, young man.
You know what, though, Lance? Getting clean and sober is easy. You just got to change everything.
Well, that's right.
The playground, your
That's
friends.
right. That's
your
right.
toys, all of it.
And my favorite line: "How you do anything is how you do everything."
That's right. That's the truth. Hey, good? So, okay, what about you? What do you want to say to people out there that are listening right now? How about parents that are listening right now that are saying, he's only smoking weed?
Oh,
Everyone's doing it.
no, please, right now, as of this day, cut it out of your life. Tell them, get it out of their system. Take away all their weed, their money if they have money to buy it. Yeah, and talk to them and let them know that you're there for them, because that goes a long way. Not having your parents there for you. There's a lot of kids out there right now that feel like their parents aren't there, but in reality, it's just their parents don't know how to address the situation.
Sadly, there's a lot of parents that really aren't out there. In fact, I hate to say this, but most aren't right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why, and I'm not knocking any of you parents, but the average parent spends between 2 and 10 minutes with teenagers today. And here's how that goes. How was your day? It was good. How was school? It was cool. Do you have any homework? I done it. Are you hungry? I ate. What is the last thing a 13 or 14-year-old boy or girl does before they go to sleep?
They say that I love you to their parent. Oh, they're on their phone. Yes.
True or false?
True, very true. They
say, I love your mom, walk in the other room, pick up their phone, and they're talking to their friends in person. True?
Yes.
On social media, FaceTime or whatever it is, they go to sleep. They wake up in the morning. What's the first thing they do before they even go to the bathroom?
Check their phone.
Check their social media. Say good morning to their friends. Say, hey, see you at school.
Yep.
So they walk out. So they go to sleep with their friends, right?
Yep.
They wake up with their friends.
Yep.
They walk out the bedroom. If their mom and dad are there, hi, boom. They're at school with who?
Their friends.
For how many hours now? 6, 8, 9.
8, yeah.
They come home most of the times, mom and dad, if they're even living together, they're over at work, so they come home to nobody. Not true. To their friends, right? Either
Yes.
in person or in person.
Yeah.
Then we have that 2 or 10-minute conversation at night. So where am I going with this, Lance? Why am I bringing this up?
Well, because the parents play a vitally important role in the sobriety of their loved ones. And so hopefully the parents will get involved, and hopefully their parents will get involved with Al-Anon.
But isn't that even more? Doesn't the parents have more of a role of teaching kids how to deal with feelings, how to grow up, how all that they're not doing today?
They're not doing it. I think the parents are so uncomfortable with parenting. Parents nowadays want to be their kids' friends.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be their friends.
No.
You can't be a cool parent.
Even if we go out to eat, we're sitting in a restaurant, what do you see? You got mom checking Facebook, seeing how many likes she got on the food she just posted. JJ on their text message with their friends, and dad in space.
My mom has a rule at the dinner table. If you're on your phone at the dinner table, you're paying for it.
There you go.
Oh, okay, that'll take care of that.
Yeah.
I like that.
But the message for me, man, is simple. I've been doing this for 40 years. And 40 years ago, I can tell you this. When I was talking to kids and I said, what's the most important thing in your world? Almost every kid would say, my parents. If I ask the same question today, almost every kid will say, my friends. So parents, be a parent, man, not a friend.
please.
Yeah,
there.
and the adolescents are so vastly different from when you hired me because I worked ran the adolescent program in Santa Paula, the inpatient. Man, the adolescents are so vastly different. Now a lot of them are so friggin' disrespectful. They're so friggin' obnoxious.
But that's only because of the disconnect.
Yeah.
That's because there is, if you're disconnected, not only are you disconnected, that means they're connected to somebody else, which
Correct.
means there's no respect.
Correct.
How can you respect someone that you're disconnected to?
Yeah, and the parents have got to step it up and spend a lot more time with them. And you know, Cary, a lot of times it's the parents worse than the adolescent, for sure.
Oh, yeah,
the parents are a huge part of the problem.
That's right. So like I was telling Joe, be to your kid what you want your kid to grow up and be. If you don't want your kid to use drugs and drinks, then don't do it. If you don't want your kid to scream and yell and pull people out of cars because you're throwing temper tantrums, don't do it. Kids are sponges, man. They're learning from what they see. What they see is you.
They do what you do.
They do what you do, not what you say. So walk like you talk and be a mom or be a dad. Be their role models. They need you. On that note, I want to thank John and Joe. I really do appreciate it, and Lance, of course. And you guys are an inspiration. Stay that way, man. Run with this thing. This is my name's Cary, and this is the Action Drug Hour here on AM 1220 and 98.1 KHTS.